Everybody, welcome back. Stephen here, Northwest Small Batch Brewing. It is time for a weekly brew talk. So I want to talk this week a little bit about hop oil. And you're going to start to hear a little theme, probably started in my last video or the one before that, and it will continue for the next video or two. And so when it comes to hop oil, I'm not talking about hop shots or, you can buy these hop oil sort of shots. These sort of squirt into your, instead of actually using like a bittering hop, you could just use a shot of hop oil. I've heard that they don't taste very good. It's not great. It's not a good alternative to the real thing, but I have not tried it myself. I will say that that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, it is, but it's not. I'm talking about the actual hop oil in a hop. That's what I want to talk about. So let's start at the beginning. So the oil that is in hops is usually what you want for your aroma and flavor in your beer. The problem is that the oil cannot be isomerized. Now, I talked about this a while back, not too long ago in a video where I was having trouble pronouncing that word. And if you remember that video, this is basically a process where it's converting that molecule into something completely different, creating the bitterness. Well, hop oil can't do that. So that's the first problem with hop oil. The second is that it's not very soluble. Cheers, by the way. Deschutes makes good beer. So oil's not very soluble. So that means it doesn't mix well with the wort. It separates, right? It doesn't stay in solution very well. So that's another problem. And the reason I'm bringing up these problems is because we need to know solutions, or the best way to handle this to retain the most flavor and aroma. So there's another problem. It's the boiling point of these hop oils. It's actually lower than the boiling temperature of water or wort. So what that means is that your hop oils from the hops are boiling off, like that, in moments when you're putting them into boiling water. So this is why I was kind of pushing, and you'll probably hear this again over the next video or two. And this is something I've started doing. Two things. Number one, first wort hops. I did do a video, if you want to look that up, you can find it on my page. It explains more about it, but essentially what you're doing is you're only using one hop during the entire boil. Well, I mean, you can use multiple kinds of hops, but you're only just doing one hop addition. So when the boil, in this case, first wort hop means you actually add the hops before the boil. So as soon as you are done mashing and you're starting to raise the temperature to bring it to a boil, that's when you put your bittering hops in. And that's the only thing you put in. So you put your bittering hops in and leave them in for this full, 60-minute or whatever boil. And that's the only hop during that time. There's not going to be any 30-minute hops, 15-minute hops, 10-minute hops, none of that. The reason being because if you add hops later, you're really going to get almost nothing as far as flavor and aroma from them, because they're so quickly boiled off that you're just adding more bitterness without adding any real reason for adding those hops. So the solution is, and what I've been doing is, you have two options. Any hops that you would put in after that bittering hop, if you have a 30-minute, 15-minute, 10-minute, 5-minute, whatever, hold on to those. I'm not saying don't use them, but wait until after the boil. I would say you have two options. You can do a late addition. So that means usually that I wait till the beer comes down to around 170 degrees Fahrenheit. You can do a little higher than that, but that's still within pasteurization zone. So at 170 degrees, you're still keeping that wort sterile, is what I'm saying. And then you throw them in at like 170 and leave them in there for like, let's say if it was going to be a 10-minute, you could just do 10 minutes. But I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. All right, that's your late addition. And that's going to retain not all, but a much better portion of the aroma and flavor of those hops. The other option that I've been playing with quite a bit lately is dry hopping with those hops. Instead of doing those later additions, you just save it and dry hop it. I personally like to do it about 4 days, 3 to 4 days before I actually cold crash and then keg the beer. But there's lots of schedules that you can try for dry hopping, and none of them are right or wrong. So you just have to go with what, experiment and see what you like. There's also, by the way, an argument that can be made for doing what's called a multi-dry hop. Actually, that's just what I call it. I don't think that's an official term. But think about this. Because some people will say add the hops during high Kreuzen because it will isomerize with your yeast. There's even special yeasts that are made that they say are able to, interact with hops even more. Phyolized yeasts, right? At any rate, the problem is there's a lot of carbonation happening at that time. And as your beer is off-gassing, a lot of this aroma and flavor is coming out of solution, out of those with that CO2 and just going into the air. And so that sort of sucks. That means all that work and effort went in to not do a whole lot. So if you're going to do, dry hop that early on, you might also consider doing a dry hop later, like I was saying, like the last 3 or 4 days of, your fermentation before you're going to cold crash and keg it. There's also another issue, which is the longer you leave your dry hops in, the more vegetal, right, taste you're going to get because there's a lot of green matter on your hops. So that's another argument to be made that you don't want to leave the hops in more than 3-4 days before you get them out, one way or another. Of course, using like cryo hops, which have a lot of that vegetal matter removed, helps quite a bit. So that's also a really good option. There is one kind of hop that you always want to dry hop with. And this is something that was new to me. I hadn't heard this, but it makes sense. I believe, I think it was one of the big hop companies, up in Washington that put this out. So I think it's probably with, I'm just saying I think that it's reasonable to believe it's correct because that is what they do. But they're saying that the hops that are piney like pine needle-y, foresty, they have a particular oil that makes that piney sort of flavor and aroma. I'll probably butcher this, but I think it's called myrcene, something like that. Anyway, this particular hop with that particular oil, it will almost immediately dissipate from your beer if you put it in any kind of hop beer. So you don't want to ever use those kinds of hops within the boil part of your beer at all. There's no point unless you're just using it to bitter. I guess that's fine, but if you're looking for that pininess, right? So we're talking about like Willamette hops, Cascade hops, I think El Dorado, any of those kinds of hops that have that piney flavor to them, save those for your dry hop. You're going to get a much more flavorful aroma from those. Those of all the hops are ones that you absolutely want to hold off and dry hop with. Anyway, I'm pretty much out of time. That's it about hop oil. I hope that makes sense in changing up your hop schedule, both during the boil and your hops, dry hops. I'll be back in another week with another brew talk, brew video, whiskey tasting, whatever I have comes to my mind. That's what I'll do. So I'll see you then. And until then, keep on brewing.